Welcome back to class. In this lesson, we will be looking at some functions that we can use in organizing and managing our data. These functions will help us to maintain consistency and maintain data integrity on our table. We'll be looking at functions like our trim, our lower, our value, and data validation. However, we should not be limited to these functions. We have functions like our left, like our right, like our mid, that we can also use in our data cleaning process. On the advanced level, we have functions like test before, test after, that we can also use in our data cleaning process. All these functions are available on our headset to make our work easier and so that we won't need to be cleaning or doing things one by one. In the example we have on the screen right now, we have our raw name. We have our raw name, John Doe, Mary Ann, Obi, and we have them in the diverse way. This is in lowercase all true. This is lowercase all true. This is uppercase all true. This is lowercase, uppercase, just shattered. And this, then we have some space in between here, over here. We have some space over here too, and everything is just looking not consistent and messy. Same thing under our email. We have some with capital letter. Everything is just as it is. And then this is our amount. We have our amount currently in a text format because we have it aligned to the left. Anytime we are dealing with figures, it always aligns to the right. So how can we make the best use of this? So the first thing we want to do for this guy is that we want to trim all the um all the space out of this. So it's good as saying trim. What are we trimming? We are trimming this and click on your enter. So with this, all the space has been removed. If you want to make life easier with this, you can easily format this as a table. We know how to do that already. My table has an header, yes, and then click on your OK, and then we have this. So, and we have this, and then I can easily copy this down, and we can see that all the spaces has been removed. However, all the text or alphabet are not in the same case. So we want to make it have the same case. So I can easily wrap this, wrap this, and then include the function we call proper. Proper. Proper will convert a string to a proper case, the first letter in each word to uppercase and all other letter to lowercase, which is exactly what we want. And then we have this, we have our test already, and then click on this. So if you notice, the formula populated all true for every one of them immediately. That is because I am working with table or on table. If I was not working on table, then I will need to compute the formula one after the other for each one of them. And immediately I type the formula, you can see that every one of them is now consistent. Your capital, and your other to be small letter. With this, we have something nice to work with. For this, our email, we don't really need it to be in proper case. We want it to be in sentence case. So having leveraging the in lowercase rather, leveraging how we did this, I can easily do our lower convert all letter strange to lowercase. And then for our test, I want to trim this again so that in case there's any space I don't want, it can always be removed. And I can close this and then from you can see that everything got populated. Why? Because I'm working on table. So I don't need to always keep copying the formulas across board. So we have this already in lowercase all true, and we are good to go. The last part is our values. So we can do equals to value and then put it this here and this here and then click on our enter. So for this, we can see that we have our values populated across board now, but we have an error over here. We have an error over here. Why? Because of not sure. When we have errors like this, or when we are dealing with data that we know that we might be prone to error, there is a way we go around it. So we can easily introduce our if statement. Let's look at if error and then close this guy out here and then if error, then just leave it blank and then let's see this. Can you see that? If error. So what I did now is that I told this my Excel that if there's an error, like the value error is so there, just leave it blank, and which is exactly what it did. So this guy is blank right now. So let's assume something changed over here later. It will definitely change here by default, and we can easily format this to our currency control one currency, and then we can easily pick our naira. And okay, so with this we have something better to use. And a part I want to touch before we end this lesson is what we call our data validation. Anytime you are working with tests that you know that there is possibility of making error and you don't want to allow for error. For example, let's say let's go back to our previous example on our filtering and sorting. We have different categories over here, ranging from our electronics to our furniture to our office supplies to our services. So instead of having them writing all these one after the other, we can use what we call data validation so that there can be a drop down that they can select each of these services from. So if we are to redesign this to be better, we can easily say we have our electronics. Just write it out. Electronics, put a comma, furniture, furniture, put a comma. We have services, services, put a comma, and we have our office supplies. So I want to copy this and cut it, or you can copy it anyhow you want it. So I am picking on this particular cell G3. I'm coming under my data, and I'm coming under my data tools here, and then I'm coming to this guy that we call data validation. Can you see that? Data validation. So this guy will bring out a pop-out, and on the pop-out, we don't need to concern ourselves with the error message or the input message and the likes. We really only have issue with the settings. Under the allow, we can click on list. So we want to set an instruction for this guy. So say list, and we want to say we can either go and pick your source if you have your source on your screen somewhere, but then better still, I can paste what I copied with my comma as a separator. Emphasis on that. Don't forget that with my comma as a separator, and I can click on my OK. So immediately you can see that there's a drop down box over here, and anytime I'm working on this, I can always click on this drop down and click on any one I want. So with this, nobody can somebody might want to write electronics and write electronic without S. And if you have some with S and some without S, on the long run, it will affect the integrity of your data, especially if you are looking at making business decision with that table. So it will have some partitions, some with electronic, some with electronics, and your Excel will see it as different entry entirely. So to play safe, especially when you know that you have some specific you are looking forward to, the best way to go about it is to use your data validation. So with that, we've been able to look at our filtering, our sorting, and our data validation in this lesson. See you on the next one.